Morning, everyone, and happy solstice. This is the best day of the year because from now on we start gaining sunlight and life is going to be that much brighter. And you see, I had to add some lights here just to brighten things up. I had to become the Christmas tree. So, did any of you watch the Charlie Brown Christmas? I'm curious. I'm wondering if any of you watched it. I also have a surprise for you because I told you last week that my snow globe was broken and I fixed it. It has a range of songs. So the batteries were actually they sort of leaked out and there was acid everywhere. I had to clean it up, but it's all fixed now. So everything is fine. So I hope you managed to watch A Charlie Brown Christmas. And I realized that when we first moved into our house, I had my own little Charlie Brown Christmas tree. The tree in front of our house was quite small, and you could really just put a few ornaments. You couldn't even really put lights on it. Well, you could put them on the trunk. So that's my little Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And just to prove that that Charlie Brown Christmas trees, if they get a little love, they will grow and flourish. Well, you've seen the more recent pictures of my tree out front, and it has grown and flourished, and now it has lots of ornaments and lights on it. So, it's Christmas this week, and as if I hadn't been cooking enough, you know that I am going to be preparing my Christmas dinner here because I'm not going anywhere for Christmas. I'm staying here in Scotland, and so I thought I would talk to you about some of the traditions that I and my family have for Christmas. And so one of the things that I'm going to make is pierogi. So I am Polish American. I actually have Polish, Lithuanian, and Italian or Sicilian heritage. And, when I was talking about Thanksgiving, I talked about all the traditional things that we eat for Thanksgiving. And one of my friends said to me, actually in my family, we do different things each year. Sometimes we do Mexican, sometimes we do smorgasbord. And it is true. I mean, even though turkey is the traditional Thanksgiving meal. Of course, not everyone does that. And of course, because America has people from so many different places, everyone usually not everyone, but a lot of people usually put their own cultural spin on things. Now, in my family, we always did that at Christmas. So at Christmas, we always would have some kind of Polish food, and it was usually these pierogis. And then the desserts would often be the Italian. So my grandmother was Italian, but my grandfather was Polish. So she learned the Polish. She learned how to cook the Polish foods. And then all of the desserts that we usually had for Christmas were Italian. We had lots of different kinds of Italian cookies, sometimes cannoli, things like that. So it was always really fun, at Christmas to have these different foods, and it was something to look forward to. So a few years ago, we spent our first Christmas here in our house in Lawrencekirk, and I made pierogi, and it is a big process because you have to make the dough, and you make the dough with potatoes, which is why it's kind of like a dumpling or a wonton or something like that. The dough is really sort of chewy, and then you fill it with different things. So I fill it with either cabbage or sauerkraut. You can fill it with potatoes, cheese. There are all kinds of different fillings. So, and then basically what you do is you boil them, and once they rise to the top, they're done. So it's quite a process. And so this is what they look like when they're done, and they last quite a long time. So it's, you have food for quite a few days. So that's what I will be doing this week. These are pictures from when I made them previously. And just to show you where I learned it from, my mom has also been busy making pierogi for my mom and dad for Christmas. And she has been making her Italian cookies. Now, I'm really going to miss these this year. This is by far my favorite cookie that my mom makes. It is a chocolatey cookie filled with chocolate chips and raisins and spices. And they're just so, because you soak the raisins beforehand, so they're very moist. And I love them, and I will miss them this year. I've never actually tried to make them. I probably should. I probably would be able to, but they seem like quite a lot of work. So anyway, so those are my mom's cookies. And just to show you that everyone in the family gets in on the cooking, this is my dad. He's making this. We call it antipasto in our house, but it's the giardini salad. It's sort of like um, whoops. It's a whole bunch of vegetables and olives and garlic, and they're all pickled in salt and vinegar, and it's delicious. And this is another thing that I'm really gonna miss this year, because I've tried to make it and it just doesn't come out as good as when my parents make it. So, and just to show you that we all participate in the cooking process. This is my partner. My partner is in charge of the meat. So this was our first Christmas here. We did traditional British Christmas. We did a turkey. This year, I think we're gonna do ham. So we in the States, we don't always do turkey. Actually, it's not, well, in my family, it was never traditional to do turkey for Christmas, but for Matt, his family always had turkey on Thanksgiving. So it's really different. And I think that's one of the really fun things about Christmas, and holidays, really, are the different kinds of foods and the different kinds of experiences you have, and sharing that with other people. There's another tradition that I have at Christmas, which I'm really going to miss, but I will be able to recreate it. So, yes, Charlie Brown Christmas is my favorite Christmas special, but A Christmas Story is by far my favorite Christmas movie. So, it's a feature length film. And every year in the States, they have it on permanent repeat. They start on Christmas Eve at 8 o'clock on either TBS or the TNT channel, and they play it back to back every 2 hours. So no matter when you turn on the TV, it's there. And I could seriously watch the full 24-hour marathon. And it always comes to this point every year where someone will be like, can we turn this off now? How many times are we going to watch it? But I could watch it so many times. I don't know why I love it. It's just this really wholesome story about a boy, growing up at Christmas time, and it takes place in like the 30s or 40s. And my mom always says it reminds me of her where she grew up in the US. And so that in a way it kind of also reminds me of, I didn't grow up in the in the 40s. Nor did my mom. I mean, my mom grew up in the 50s. But I'm really putting my foot in my mouth here. But the feeling is that of the days gone by. So it does have this feel of bringing me back to my childhood. Like there's these little things like the light switches in the film they used to be in the States, these buttons that you would push. And I remember they had those at my grandmother's house. So it brings back these, these little memories that I have that make the holidays great. And speaking of my grandmother, I have a few more things that help to make me feel like I'm not so far from home. So this is my Christmas stocking that my grandmother knitted for me, or crocheted or knitted. I don't know. But this now is in my house here, and it reminds me of her, and it reminds me of Christmas back home. And then look at these. These are, I call them eggnog mugs. They're for drinking anything you want at Christmas, really. But I'm gonna try to make homemade eggnog this year, because you can't get eggnog here unless you go to like a special store. But I'm gonna try to make it. I'm sure you've heard of an eggnog latte at Starbucks. And if you think that's delicious, well, eggnog is very delicious. And look at this. My grandmother made these in 1956, and they've survived this long. So I will have a drink of eggnog out of these and feel like I'm home for the holidays. Last but not least, I have a Christmas present for all of you. It wasn't very expensive, and it's going to be kind of hard to put in a box, but I found a way. So here you go. I wish you all comfort and joy at the holidays, at this festive season, whatever you celebrate, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, or something else, or you're just enjoying the fairy lights, because that's something you can appreciate regardless of what holidays you celebrate. I think because I think it looks pretty. Um, so I wish you all the best for the holidays. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and have a great festive season. And don't forget the cinnamon.